Yeah, LV. Yeah, yo, you made the council a sheep. 1, 2, 3, get sucked in my sheets. これは現実、それか dream.
Sometimes things don't go as expected. I planned to review Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, but I didn't have time to play it to completion. So, in the meantime, I decided to talk about one of my favorite PlayStation 3 games, Catherine. In the game Catherine, you do not play as Catherine, but as a guy called Vince Brooks. Vince is 32 years old, has a steady job, a steady girlfriend, and a steady life. At lunchtime, he usually eats with his girlfriend, and after work he goes to the local bar The Stray Sheep with his friends. Life is good for Vincent, until his girlfriend Catherine, with a K, hints that he should grow up, so they can get married and get kids. This is not what Vince wants, so after work he goes to the bar and gets shit-faced drunk. The next morning he wakes up next to a stunning blonde girl that has everything he wants. Her name is also Catherine, but then with a C. He got scared, especially when he finds out that she considers him her boyfriend. Staying with this blonde would solve all his problems, but he still loves Catherine with a K. In the meantime, Vince gets nightmares where he has to climb towers of interlinked blocks while outrunning terrifying monsters. If he fails, he will die in the real world. He also encounters other men from the Stray Sheep in his nightmares, and finds out that they only have one thing in common. They are all cheating. So how would he get out of this situation? This is the story in a nutshell. It all sounds very dramatic, but it unfolds in a very surprising way, because nothing is what it seems to be. The gameplay can be divided in two parts. The nightmare puzzle stages and the more exploration stages that take part in the Stray Sheep bar. In the nightmare stages, Vince must climb a tower of blocks as fast as possible. He can push and pull the blocks to make a straight path. This sounds very easy, but in reality it's a very hard game, especially in the later stages and in the hard difficulty level. At the end of every stage, Vince is reaching a resting place where he can save. Before he goes to the next stage, he's asked a question. The answer affects the morality meter, which represents a choice Vince is going to make. Catherine with a K or Catherine with a C. At the end of each nightmare level, there's a boss stage. Here Vincent will be chased by one of his biggest fears. I don't want to spoil much, but it looks pretty gruesome. The stages in the bar are calm and dialogue heavy. Here you can learn about the characters, you can drink and interact. Sometimes you get a text message on your phone from one of the two Catherines, and your reaction will again affect the morality meter. In these stages you can also listen to the music on the jukebox, or you can play an arcade machine. The game on the arcade machine, Rapunzel, is a sort of puzzle version of the nightmare stages, and its background story is tied with the story of the main game. Catherine has very mature themes, but the game doesn't have very realistic graphics. There's no nudity or gore in Catherine, but there's blood and suggested sex. But because of the Japanese anime style, it doesn't come off as something that's out of place or something, or that's added for shock value. The more cartoony style has another great positive. It makes the graphics look timeless. The sound and the music are in one word fantastic. The version I bought was the US version, and it had a CD with the soundtrack included. To this day, I still listen to the soundtrack on my player now and then. It is that good. Most of the tracks are classical tunes that are remixed by Shoji Meguro, who also composed the soundtrack of the last Persona games. Also, the sounds are done great. It all sounds natural and it's done with an ear of detail that you don't really see often in games. I just cannot praise it enough. The overall presentation style is very slick. That's the word. Slick. All the menus are animated and have a distinct style. You can compare it a bit with Persona 5, but that makes sense because this is a spin-off of the Persona series. Catherine is a pretty long game. The option menu only gives you 3 options, but when you start the game, you realize how full of content this game is. For example, it will take you about 15 hours to beat the main game, but then you realize there are 8 endings. If you want to see all of these endings, you either have to play through the game 8 times or beat every stage with a gold medal. because if you do, you can jump back into the stage at any time and change the choices you've made. It's a lot of work. Then you also unlock stages that were made for 2 players, the Babel stages. There are 4 of them, and they are pretty tough. If you beat these stages, you will get a 9th ending. Then, lastly, there is the Rapunzel arcade machine in the Stray Sheep bar. If you beat this, and there are 128 puzzles, you will get more story background. This game is really huge, and you always have something to explore and to come back to. The gameplay and the graphics seem to be designed to be timeless. Of course, you can see that the resolution of modern games is much higher, but Catherine looks by no means dated as some other 2011 games do. Also, the gameplay is timeless. Puzzles are always fun, or not if you don't like them. I mean, I'm still playing Tetris, and that game is more than 30 years old. But, in my opinion, the biggest strength of Catherine is its uniqueness. In this game, you play as a guy in his early 30s who's stuck in this relationship and gets nightmares about his cheating. He wants to do the right thing, but the responsibilities are frightening him. This is a very mature theme that you don't see often in games. Also, the setting makes it unique. The game is set in an unknown town in the States, and the culture is unmistakably American. But the way the story unfolds and the way Vince acts is very Japanese. He's even going to a sushi bar. Every character you see in Catherine is very distinct, and although they are a bit stereotypical American on the outside, they're all fleshed out about their views and experiences about relationships. Sometimes they surprise you. For example, when I found out the waitress Erica's backstory, it was a real what the fuck moment. It's very well done, and something you don't see in games like this. Remember, it's a puzzle game. So, is everything in Catherine great? Well, no. Vince doesn't always control so well, there are places and phrases that tend to repeat, but the biggest problem I have is that the later nightmare levels have too many stages. There are levels with 6 or 7 stages, and that is just too long. These stages are intensive, and it was hard to keep the concentration going on for that long. As you noticed, I'm a big fan of Catherine. I can get very detailed how everything is connected in this game. Every time I play, I find something new. I understand a new metaphor or reference. It might take a while before you get familiar with the nightmare stages, and if you don't have the age or experience to understand Vince's fears, you might not comprehend the whole story. Nonetheless, I think every adult, even mildly interested in video games, should play and finish the game at least once. In my opinion, Catherine is the ultimate experience how games evolved and how good a mature story can work in a video game. Gaming is not just for kids anymore. So, this was my review of Catherine. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will put some nightmare levels online so you can see how it works and if you like it or not. Yeah, like and subscribe, and that's it. See you next time.